love, techno, cunt. Bonjour, gummo, hello, salam, and whatever version of hello I don't say. Hello, this is Armin, and this is another episode of Love, Techno, Cunt. Happy again that you tuned in, and yeah, let's start with this special episode because I feel like this is an episode that I didn't really dread doing, but I feel like I needed a lot of emotional preparing to do because it is something very new to me, and it is something that already defines me a lot, and it empowers me, and it is something that I'm proud of, and I think that it has become a very important piece of my own journey. And this is my sex work, the work that I'm doing for over a year now, and yeah, I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to do this in English only because I've already done a podcast on this specific topic on a German platform, German podcast called Willkommen im Club, which is a German podcast done by two amazing influencers. And I will link the podcast in my Instagram. And of course, that podcast is in German, so I felt like I needed a English revamp of it so that my English following can cling onto it. So yeah, this is a bit of a English revamp, but also with questions that I ask myself that are more on how I want to approach this specific topic. So the first question is, of course, what led me initially to do sex work, what made me enter the world of sex work, and how has my perspective changed on it. So to give you a little dive back into my past, I think in the last episode I spoke about how I radicalized myself and how I got informed into politics and stuff. And during that time I was also a big fan of, I got to be a big fan of RuPaul's Drag Race and RuPaul in general, and drag queens, queerness, etc. And I watched a lot of videos about that, and RuPaul had one video where she talks to sex workers on the streets of New York in the 90s. And those were trans sex workers who were there for open interviews with RuPaul. And the way they spoke and the way they held themselves in these conversations, I was so amazed by it. Because of course, just like many people, I had a lot of stigma towards trans sex workers, sex work in general, but also to trans people at that point in my life. And all that stigma comes, of course, into your confirmation bias when you see someone, especially on TV or something, and you expect them to act a certain way because you don't know them. And these people, they amazed me, the way that they spoke, the way they answered the questions of RuPaul. Like, if you can look up that interview on YouTube, I would demand you to do it because it's amazing. I hope it's still up somewhere. So that was my first glimpse into sex work, and I was ever since hooked by it. I, of course, informed myself about sex work and the social circumstances of it. And of course, because I had found that I had stigma around it, I knew that there was some sort of injustice, some sort of what's behind the curtain, what don't we know, why is it that we feel stigma or shame around it, why don't we talk about this in public. So yeah, I was hooked and interested and curious. So that was my first initial spark towards it. And I was from the get-go very amazed. Fast forward towards now, like almost 12 years later or whatever, I was always inclined to do it, but of course, because of shame, because of not having the courage, because of so many circumstances, I couldn't do it, and I didn't dare to do it. And now that I'm doing it, I know how much psychological stability you need to do it healthily, in a healthy way. Because yes, it is a work of, let's just say, without a lot of securities, because the state doesn't give you security. There's no union behind it. There's no employment per se. You're self-employed, you're self-sufficient, and you're working with your body, and you're giving up a lot of privacy in that regard. And it is so important to set boundaries, etc. So to wrap it all up, and how I came to know it and how I came to do it, is because I gathered more information. I was always curious about it. I was always politically interested in the representation of sex work and sex workers, most importantly. And yeah, I started doing it by having lost my job last year, my main regular corporate job. And that was the moment where because of, I wouldn't say necessarily poverty, but also out of curiosity and out of my self-discovery journey and me wanting to try new things and me having some sort of confidence already, deciding, hey, I want to do it. And a friend of mine, she empowered me to do it since she was very educated on the topic and she knew what questions you need to ask yourself before you do it. And yeah, so I started that account on that escorting platform, a gay escorting platform, got my profile up and just did it. I started doing it. And it was a very wholesome experience. Like I told myself, if that first date of mine goes well, I will feel empowered to do more. And yeah, how do I navigate it? I feel there's so much to sex work that we can talk about. Pardon me. What I'm doing is escorting, which is, to sum it up, a booking of a sex worker, which you do online, which you click on the profile, then you read all you want about them. Usually they have a text about what they do, what they offer. If it's escort service, like if you want to have a business dinner or some sort of movie night or just some cuddling or like companionship, there's so much an escort can offer. For me, I offer the boyfriend experience. So I offer everything a regular boyfriend would do on a 1 or 2 hour night. Like we can have a dinner, we can have a movie night, we can cuddle, we can talk about your work. I'm basically selling a fantasy, which is all pre-talked about in the chat that we have. So you text me, I ask you what you want, you describe it to me, and I'll give my blessing, and then we arrange a meeting. Of course, sex and intercourse and private moments can occur, and but it's not always the case. At first, I thought it would be only the thing that people wanted, but from what I can gather right now, a lot of people want intimacy. A lot of people want someone to talk to, someone to hold tight. But yeah, it's a mix of a lot of things. So sometimes I have clients who just come here to have a little moment of privacy and like get jerked off or have sex or just touch a man for the first time. So yeah, that's something that I realized. There's a lot of like the diversity of clients is huge. And yeah, of course I have regulars, or I had regulars. Like I did a 2-month break now and I lost a lot of people, a lot of clients, which is also an insecurity which comes from doing that sort of self-employed work. Nothing is granted, nothing is safe. Once you do a break, once you get sick, once you do anything, you don't get any money. And no client relationship is meant to be stable. Like people can just turn away at you for a whim. What's it called? The wording? At a whim, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, I navigated by offering this boyfriend experience by having clear boundaries. I have all my boundaries written down. Like I'm not doing drugs. I'm not doing stuff that I'm not comfortable doing, and I really enforce these boundaries. And I demand respect from the first communication, from the first hello. I demand hygiene. I demand, communication. And because of that, I have some sort of niche experience. Like I'm not easily booked, I feel like. Comparing myself to other sex workers, to other escorts, who do offer a lot of more things like kinky stuff and rough sex and sessions with, I don't know, whatever. I do feel I offer far less. But I always want to be in control of what I'm doing, and I always want to only do stuff that I feel comfortable and that actually invokes some fun and things that I do with expertise. Even though sometimes people offer me a lot more money for stuff that I wouldn't do, I always decline because if I do something that I'm not comfortable with and I start trespassing my own boundaries, who knows how far I will go at some point. So having this psychological control over myself is very, very important while doing sex work, especially escorting and offering these services. So next question. What has been the most empowering aspect of doing sex work for you, and what challenges or misconceptions have you faced because of it? The most empowering aspect of it has been me realizing what I'm capable of doing. I'm really good, at communication and setting boundaries. And of course, sex work helped me train these aspects of myself as well. I'm really good at saying a strong no and kicking people out when they refuse to respect my boundaries. Like, I've had moments where people would come drunk into my place, or they want to do stuff out of the sudden that wasn't agreed upon. So I get very strict very quickly. And and other than that, I'm very good with people, with men. I love sociology. I love psychology. I love practicing these aspects that I already know, the wisdom that I have, onto real life, onto real people. So I recognize patterns in someone's behavior, and then I apply it to what I think they might like touching them in a specific place, knowing that someone has come from afar, maybe have never touched a man before, and I offer some sort of gentleness, some sort of softness. I give them a little kiss, give them a little warm welcome talk, ask them questions of comfort, navigate the conversation by guiding them, undressing them, letting them undress me in a very gentle way, or sometimes a more firm way, depending on how I calculate the situation. I think my people skills have really become something. Not really have become something, but also empowered myself to believe that I'm a very good people person. I know men. I mean, men are the easiest type of people, I believe. But men specifically. So I think that my people skills, my empathy, my sensitivity towards navigating situation with other people, questions to ask, communication, whatever. That's the most empowering, as well as knowing that I'm good at sex and erotic. Like, I feel like I'm a very erotic person. I exude erotica, and I even am able to apply this erotic confidence towards my private self and my alter ego, because I believe sex work is my calling, and that aspect of it has really empowered me to embrace my sexuality, embrace my erotic self, and have some sort of confidence and reassurance when it comes to any contact with men. If it's gay men in the club, straight men on the streets, chatting with someone on Grindr or whatever, I now have this reassurance and this confidence of knowing how to navigate through a situation with men, because I know who I am, I know what I can offer, and I know how men specifically engage in sexual encounters and social encounters and whatever, because I have a lot of experience with men. I feel like, and if someone surprises me, if someone falls out of a pattern, if someone gives me a good impression because they surprised me with something very empathetic or something, I'm always down for a good surprise, and I actually admire that. That's how you spark curiosity within me, when you surprise me and don't fall in these regular patterns of male behavior. How do you set boundaries and take care of your mental health in an industry that can be both liberating and demanding? That's a good question. I set boundaries, just like I said, by clear communication, by upholding my boundaries, like by by always fixating on what I really want in that profession, right? And thereby, I don't feel like it taxes me mentally. I feel like a good point is that I do have some bad experiences sometimes, and I even took a 2-month break, just like I said, because I had a bad experience, and I'm probably gonna mention it at some point. But it was a paranoid attack that I had because I assumed someone would attack me throughout the session, and I handled it well. Like, it was just paranoia. He didn't do anything, but that really got to show me what a vulnerable position I am when I'm just exposed to some stranger who's just here and sees me as a toy to have sex with. Of course, I have privileges because I am perceived as a man, and I'm built like a man in comparison to flinter people who don't have the same physique that I have. And flinter sex workers are especially like people who are less tall than I am, whatever, and less physically strong, are definitely more vulnerable, and I make sure that I'm aware of that, and I have a certain privilege within the sex work community. And I'm working with gay men, or men who have sex with other men most of the time, and that's a privilege in itself, because working with straight men, men who want to have sex with women, those men are far more dangerous, because we all know they can get crazy. They have this little switch inside their brain that when they feel insecure, or when they feel like they're cornered, they will get hyper aggressive and you know what. I make myself aware of these things, and that's how I keep my mental health. And I always stay in touch with other community members. I work towards more awareness, and and by doing talks like this and talking with people, I also feel like I have a good grasp of my mental health. But still, it does take an effect on my sex life. Sometimes I feel like I don't get horny with men around me, because why don't they pay me? I mean, it sounds funny, but I feel like sometimes I just, even if a hot man approaches me and like wants to have sex or wants to flirt or whatever, I'm like, ugh, I could have money for this, which is not a good mindset to have, because I do want to flirt and I do want to have some sexual encounters without this kind of thinking. But yeah, it does spoil me a bit, and I want to get in control of that. And I feel like there's a journey to be had in the future. And yeah, if you have any tips on regarding this specific topic, please text me, and I would love to get to engage in that conversation. If there's one thing you wish more people understood about sex work and sex workers, what would it be? That we're people. I think that's the most important part, that we're workers. Sex work is work, even though there's this misconception that we work so little and get so much money out of it. You don't know how much effort we put into one session, like the amount of fake messages that we get, the amount of fake arrangements that I do. I've driven to so many hotels and places, and just to find out that the other person just blocked me 2 minutes ago, or didn't arrive, or didn't have enough money with them, and there's no level of insurance I can take. We're workers. It's hard work. It can be taxing, and there's no one in most cases who prepares us for this. And there's so much stigma and so much unknown to this. Like, if I think about all these sex workers who do it on the streets, who do it in ways that the pimps abuse them, the clients abuse them. There's so many stories that are not told because people don't see us, and that's what I want to push. I want people to see us as human beings and to see us for what we are, because sex work exists. I exist, and we won't stop. As long as there's demand, we will exist, and there will always be demand, because people want us. And sex work is something beautiful. It can be so empowering if it's done right, if it's communicated well, if the client and the worker are respectful towards each other. But yeah, I hope I find some guests who will talk about this topic with me. And if you have questions, ask me. And this, of course, everything is my own experience. If I did something and said something insensitive or something, please correct me. Please give me a heads up. And love you, kisses, and I'm very thankful.